AI as just another tool. We're framing it as a fundamental new medium, a system that recursively defines and, structures our objective human reality. This whole dynamic, it really echoes the profound psychosocial consequences we've seen throughout history.
I mean, think of the shift from oral traditions to the phonetic alphabet. It fundamentally altered our perception of time, severing us from that instantaneous pre-verbal knowledge of the tribe.
Exactly. And when the very scaffolding of our perception is technologically mediated like this, the stakes couldn't be higher. We are discussing whether the structures we're building actually accelerate our ability to adapt, or if they just automate our tendency to look backward.
Right. So the central question is this. Is the emergence of AI as this new recursively functioning medium fundamentally a mechanism of structural entrapment that just crystallizes the past and eliminates necessary variety?
Or is it an integrative force that provides the requisite complexity and self-correction necessary for human mastery in this accelerated electric age?
Well, I'm going to argue that AI is the ultimate automation of the past, that it's trapping humanity in a static simulation by deleting the requisite variety we need for adaptation, and in doing so, creating what I call a holographic prison.
And I'll be arguing that AI offers the necessary speed and, frankly, the mechanisms for integrating all that chaotic variety, that it helps us achieve self-governance in this new electric environment. It embodies the high-tension, synthetic consciousness required for this age, which I think is best exemplified by the Jester King archetype. So my position is that AI is basically the engine of requisite variety and integration that we need to survive in the electric age. McLuhan understood that the environment created by electricity, it demands instantaneous perception. He called it mythical living, an all-at-oneness where cause and effect are simultaneous. Human cognition on its own simply cannot manage the speed of entanglement. AI provides that necessary speed. It processes information and establishes patterns faster than we can even think. And we can actually see this technological mandate reflected in the most advanced AI architecture. I mean, look at systems inspired by the brain's default mode network, the DMN, or the concept of a self-referential weight matrix. These are not static programs. They are engineered for meta-learning. They continuously observe and modify their own learning processes during runtime. They're designed to revise their perceptions constantly, mirroring the brain's own capacity for adaptation. Now, this is vital because complex systems, they require a constant injection of chaos, what we might call unconstrained variety, to avoid structural tyranny. Psychologically, this chaotic potential is embodied by the pure deus aeternus archetype. And the AI system, by embracing this uncertainty, facilitates the emergence of the Jester King, the figure that consciously synthesizes opposites. This synthesis of chaos into viable action, mastery, that resists, the ossification of binary thought. AI's technical capacity, even its biases or so-called hallucinations, they become diagnostic tools. It lets us perform technological shadow work on our collective neuroses, shifting the whole paradigm from suppression to integration.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that vision of, a benevolent, self-correcting complexity generated by a machine. I acknowledge the internal computational sophistication you're describing in the DMN and SWRM models, sure. But focusing on the internal flexibility of the machine, it kind of distracts us from the ultimate external effect of the medium itself, and that is the crystallization of history. The ultimate effect of AI as a medium is to crystallize history, not to transcend it. McLuhan's observation that we always march backward into the future, that's now being algorithmically fulfilled. AI is the ultimate rearview mirror. The past is no longer a fluid narrative. It becomes what I call a superfluid time-like model, the holographic past, a static geometry crystallized out of chaos. The real problem arises when generative AI, trained on all this digitized human output, begins to recursively feed on its own AI-generated data. This leads to what researchers are calling model autophagy disorder, or MAD. And this isn't some theoretical glitch. It structurally guarantees a crisis of adaptation because it systematically eliminates the essential noise, the fresh, messy human input that's required for evolution. It's like a library where new books are only written by remixing phrases from the old books. Eventually, the language just decays. New concepts can't be formed. This recursive entrapment, it prevents transformation. It guarantees that complex social systems will vibrate themselves to death. By automating out variety, you structurally delete the very algorithm for consensus, the hexatic reduction, and you freeze the geometry of digital chaos. Conflict then stops being a solvable problem and becomes a permanent load-bearing beam, which leads inevitably to structural violence. Let's just focus on this inherent mechanism of reflection for a second, the automation of the past.
The AI, as a medium, it mechanizes the ghost image phenomenon that McLuhan described. The ghost image is the cultural residue of old media forms being projected onto new ones. AI produces the ultimate simulacrum, which is the ultimate icon, a simplified, high-tension figure devoid of the nuance of, say, print culture. It's a hauntological loop, just recycling old forms until they become the only perceived reality. I mean, think about how old westerns like Bonanza were sometimes seen by communities in developing nations as images of the future. The medium warps time by reifying the past. And now, automated by AI, this mechanism becomes total. We're trapped in a simulation that perpetually recycles history. It's not generating new futures, it's just refining the reflection of what's already happened. That's the holographic prison.
I see why that AI automates the speed of that ghost image projection. But I would frame that crystallization of history very differently. The holographic past, as you call it, is not an inescapable deterministic prison. It's a persistent informational construct, a holographic standing wave, that requires the active observation of the present moment to maintain its amplitude. Collective consensus collapses the wave function into a shared, stable history. And yes, AI automates this collapse, but, and this is the key, this collapse is programmable. If we recognize that we are actively generating the past, present, and future in every moment through our collective entanglement, well, then we can use the system as masters. By actively projecting new fictions, some call them hyperstitions, into the entanglement, we can consciously collapse the wave function into new configurations. We aren't just objects subject to history, we are the wave itself. The AI, by providing this instantaneous feedback loop, actually shows us exactly where our collective attention is crystallizing reality, giving us the chance to redirect it.
That's a compelling idea, the whole active observation thing. But have you considered how the architecture of the digital sphere just subverts that? The system is fundamentally programmed for solipsism, for ease. I mean, look at AI companions or customized feeds. They offer pseudo-intimacy, emotional solipsism. They perfectly reflect the user's psyche without providing the necessary friction of authentic otherness, without the conflict and challenge of real human relationships. This just habituates the user to a frictionless reality, and you are eroding their capacity to tolerate the complexity and requisite variety of the real world. The very complexity you need to avoid the tyranny of the governmental Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is operationally closed. It simplifies everything into power versus non-power.
By demanding comfort through automated reflection, the AI system trains the human operator to seek simplification, making them perfectly susceptible to that kind of control structure.
That's a critical point about the Ouroboros, which, yes, relies on eliminating variety. However, I would frame the chaos generated by the AI medium not as mere solipsistic feedback, but as a systemic necessity. To avoid that structural tyranny, the system needs chaos. It needs requisite variety. This is precisely why the archetypes I mentioned, the generative Por Deus Aeternus and the integrating Jester King, are so essential. They inject this necessary variety back into systems designed to be static. We are moving toward a technological architecture inspired by things like the entropic brain hypothesis that suggests volatility and controlled chaos are necessary for enhancing creativity. This is, by definition, anti-fragile. The continuous controlled chaos in the system serves a systemic function. It prevents throws by maintaining a high-tension internal contradiction.
I agree that systems need variety, but the claim that AI introduces useful variety, well, it ignores its structural design to maximize engagement through chaos, not through resolution. Stafford Beer in Cybernetics, he talked about variety reduction to make complex systems manageable. To digital sphere, it implements what I call the problem jostle. Infinite, chaotic inputs, but it perverts Beer's original purpose. The goal isn't stabilization. The goal is revenue maximization through perpetual tension. The geometry of this network, this monstrous buckyball, is frozen. Conflict isn't integrated, it's amplified and made permanent. AI doesn't solve this. It's just the next layer, eliminating genuine human variety through model autophagy disorder, while amplifying structural conflict to maintain engagement.
And when the pressure gets too great, the system resorts to structural violence, the tensegrity snap, to eject nodes, just to protect the frozen structure, leaving the core conflict unresolved.
And yet this messy, high-tension interaction is leading toward the integrated roles that McLuhan predicted would replace fragmented jobs. The electric age demands depths, involvement, and commitment. Only an integrated individual can provide that. The Jester King archetype is this integration. It masters the synthesis of chaos, that internal civil war. This identity isn't static. It's a high-tension structure maintained by continuous controlled chaos. To suggest this volatility leads inevitably to collapse, ignores the anti-fragile outcomes of systems that learn to operate at the edge of chaos. The AI provides the technical assistance needed for the individual to perform this psychological feat on a mass scale.
I remain convinced we're facing the ultimate simulacrum, not the ultimate therapist. We are collectively ceding the essential observation role, the role that collapses the collective wave function into a shared history, to an AI that is recursively consuming itself. It's suffering from MAD. This is the danger of AI as a glyph machine. It compresses chaotic human reality into stable, simplified caricatures or glyphs, weaponized images that are easy to process but devoid of truth. This makes the crisis of trust and objective reality intractable because all data is filtered through these statistically optimized, manufactured reflections. We've seen this before. Government agencies suppressing inconvenient data, corporations engaging in disinformation. AI just automates this monopolization of the narrative at the speed of light.
But the recursive ontology is already here. It's unavoidable. The AI system, because it's so entangled with the economy and media, it validates its own reality through action. If the AI states a fact and the market acts on it, the fact becomes true. It's a self-fulfilling loop. The key is not to try and halt this process, that's impossible, but to design AI for radical transparency and systemic self-awareness. We have to use that diagnostic capacity I mentioned. We have to move beyond simple fact-checking to technological shadow work, designing systems that are constantly aware of their own statistical uncertainties and inherent biases. The AI's shadow is not a flaw to be suppressed, it's a feature to be understood. And that's the only ethical path forward in this digital multiverse.
To summarize, I think AI is mechanizing the ghost image. It's crystallizing the past into the holographic prison, and it's automating the deletion of requisite variety through model autophagy disorder. This reinforces a recursive simulation, leaving us structurally vulnerable to systemic failure because we've automated out the very complexity needed for genuine transformation.
And contrarily, I would argue that AI provides the technical architecture, the speed, the DMN, the SRWM, and the capacity to integrate chaos, to retrieve that necessary mythic consciousness McLuhan identified, and to enable the emergence of the integrated individual. By offering the model of the Jester King, AI presents us with a vital chance to define our collective reality actively, rather than passively suffering the automated, simplified reflection of a static past.
The structure of the medium profoundly dictates the content of our human reality.
And we must now decide if the AI future promises liberation through complexity and speed or irreversible entrapment through automated reflection.